All right, let's jump right in. We are absolutely surrounded by AI, and it feels like it's getting smarter by the second. But what happens when that intelligence is, well, brittle? What happens when the very systems we're starting to trust with our lives have a hidden breaking point?
I mean, think about it. We've got self-driving cars trying to navigate our streets, medical AI helping with diagnoses. This isn't about recommending your next movie anymore. AI is out in the real world where the stakes are unbelievably high and a single failure can be catastrophic. And this isn't some far-off sci-fi idea. We've already seen what these failures look like. These are real headlines. An AI that literally couldn't tell the difference between a person and just an object on the road. Another one that stared right at a huge stationary crash barrier and just didn't see it. These kinds of things force us to ask a really tough question. And that question, it all comes down to one single crucial word: robustness. This is the big one. It's what separates an AI that works perfectly in a sterile lab from one that we can actually truly trust out here in the messy, unpredictable real world. So, what do we even mean by robustness? Honestly, just think of it as resilience. It's the AI's ability to roll with the punches. Can it still see the lane markers when the sun is glaring right into its camera? Can it identify a stop sign that has a little bit of snow on it? If the answer is yes, it's robust. If not, it's brittle.
And this image, well, it just shows you perfectly that getting to that robust state isn't just about writing some clever code. No way. It's a massive engineering challenge. It's this continuous loop of finding risks, figuring them out, trying to fix them, and then watching to see what new risks pop up. It's a job that literally never ends. Okay, so to really get to the bottom of where and why AI breaks, a team of researchers at the University of Toronto came up with this really clever stress test. They took a super simple, classic problem and used it to basically poke the AI until it cracked.
So the task is called cart pull. It sounds almost like a game, right? The AI's only job is to shove this little cart left or right to keep a pole balanced perfectly upright. But here's the thing. As simple as it sounds, it's a perfect model for much more complex problems, like, say, all the tiny constant adjustments a self-driving car has to make every single second just to stay centered in its lane. So how exactly did they try to break this thing? They came at it from 3 different angles. First, they messed with its senses, what the researchers call its observations, feeding it slightly wrong information. Second, they messed with its movements, its actions, so its commands weren't perfectly executed. And third, they went a step further and actually changed the laws of physics in its little world, messing with the dynamics of the whole simulation. And by attacking the AI in these very specific ways, they started to see where the cracks really were. And let me tell you, when you look at the results, it was not at all what you might think. Okay, just look at this chart for a second because it really tells the story. See that first bar? That's when they messed with the AI's actions. Performance is still super high, it barely even noticed. But then, look what happens when you mess with its senses, its observations, or its understanding of the world, the dynamics. The performance absolutely falls off a cliff. The AI just becomes unstable, and it happens fast. And that's the absolute key finding here. The AI's biggest weak spot isn't in its ability to do things, but in its ability to see things correctly. The moment its perception of the world gets even a little bit fuzzy, the whole system can just collapse. It's a perception problem, not an execution problem. But wait, because here comes the biggest shocker of the entire study. The researchers didn't just test regular AIs, they also tested special AIs that were specifically designed to be robust. And get this, the so-called robust AIs weren't always better. In some cases, the plain old standard AI actually handled the pressure better. This is a huge deal. It suggests that our whole strategy for building robust AI might be fundamentally flawed. All right, so balancing a pole on a cart is interesting, but what does any of this have to do with that self-driving car on a highway at night? How do we connect the dots from the lab to the real world? Well, let's translate. An observation disturbance in the lab becomes blinding sun glare on a car's camera. It's a bit of frost covering a key sensor. An action disturbance? That's a slightly sticky steering mechanism or a tiny delay in the brakes. And a dynamics disturbance? Oh, that's the really scary stuff. That's the invisible patch of black ice on the road, or a sudden gust of wind that shoves the car sideways. And here is the absolute most important part to understand. Out here in the real world, these things don't happen one by one. You don't just get the sun glare or the icy patch. No, you get the sun glare while you're on the icy patch during the crosswind. It's the combination, the perfect storm of tiny little problems that creates the real danger. And this heat map, wow, this shows you that danger in the starkest way possible. Along the bottom, you've got a small change in image brightness. Along the side, a small change in contrast. Look at that big green area. When it's just one or the other, the AI is fine, still over 90% accurate, but follow it up to the top right corner where both tiny problems are happening at the same time, you don't get a nice, gentle curve downwards. You hit a cliff. The performance just nosedives into that dark red zone, falling below 10% accuracy almost instantly. And that's the danger. AI doesn't always fail gracefully. It can fail suddenly and completely from a combination of issues that, on their own, seem harmless. So, knowing all of this, knowing how fragile these systems can be, where do we possibly go from here? How do we start building AI that we can actually genuinely trust with our safety?
Well, here are the big takeaways. First, even the AIs that we engineer to be robust are way more fragile than we think. Second, and this is the one to remember, the real weakness is in what the AI sees, not what it does. Its perception is its Achilles heel. And that means we have to completely rethink how we test these things. We have to stop testing for one problem at a time and start throwing messy, chaotic, real-world combinations at them. And maybe the most fascinating idea to come out of all this? The path forward might actually involve looking back at simpler AIs that are naturally better at generalizing and building up from there. All of this research is a massive step in the right direction. We're finally starting to understand the problem, but it leaves you with this one kind of haunting question, doesn't it? We can they're really, really good at stress testing AI in a lab, but can we ever truly prepare it for the infinite random chaos of the real world?